So, for anybody listening, or for you, David, I'm going to explain how natural consequences work. So, let's say I'm trying to get medical care for something that's been going on for 25 years. I've spoke to my father, spoke to my father's wife. My brother, who's double my age, has been speaking up for over 20 years about it. My sister heard my mother admit to giving me extra medications and extra Epicac, so I'm trying to get medical care for this. But I've found out that somebody is calling my doctors and telling them that this is fantasies and made up and stop treating me. And then my doctors don't want to treat me anymore, and then I'm literally not able to get medical care right when I start. I just get the doctor to start, somebody gets the phone number of my emergency contact and contacts this person, and then somebody says something that's a lie made up that prevents the doctors from helping me. Let's say, though, that I asked my brother to be honest about all the crazy things he saw my mother do and be full out with it. Don't try to hold back, don't lie, don't make up stories, don't take sides. Just know what you know to be true that might actually describe what type of childhood I had and might explain why my mother might give me so many pills inappropriately. Why would somebody like my mother give me an overdose and not bring me to the hospital? Why would she continue giving me pills? Why was I trafficked around the country? What happened to me in New Mexico? What happened to me in Maine? What pills did you see witnessed? What pills were around? What was going on with the pills? Like, for one thing, I wasn't taking them. I had a drawer of the Seroquel that was making me sick. And as far as the Ritalin, when they tried to up the dose, I just stayed on the same because it was unnecessary. No matter how many times I went to talk to the doctor just doubled doses and gave me more meds and listened to my mother and didn't listen to me at all. Didn't care if I was having heart palpitations, severe hangovers, vomiting in the morning from the meds. He would double it, and then I would vomit more, get a more severe headache, and end up in the emergency room. And no matter how many emergency room visits I made, they just put me on Vicodin in the emergency room, gave me a prescription to go home with, and then the doctors would give me even more drugs that made my headaches worse. So anyways, with this going on, let's say my brother took a bribe instead of doing that. I asked my brother to be truthful, honest, and try to help save a life. But instead, my brother decides to use it as blackmail, and my father decides to try to bribe my brother out of telling the truth. My father calls my brother, says, "Hey, Tim, you never liked that adopted child of ours, right? Hey, let's fuck him good. Let's make sure he dies and can't get medical care." "Well, I don't want that, Dad." "Well, I'll pay you. I'll give you money. You want money or not?" "Well, yes." "Then keep your mouth shut. Don't talk about Patricia. Make sure you back up your father. Fuck this Zach. If he doesn't want to be part of this family, then fuck him. Even though I do want to be part of this family, I just don't want to die for them. They can poison me and poison me and poison me and run off, then that's not a family. A family looks out for one another. A family wouldn't poison their own son and then try to have some black guy choke them out on a couch, then sell their houses while he loses out on an education, then move him to Mass when he gets a ruler beating and poisoned over and over repeatedly while being refused proper medical care for 25 years. Yes, I've had seizures. I've had some form of epilepsy that's causing seizures. I take Trileptal 6 a day, 3 in the morning, 3 at night, and it gives me 80% improvement. The only medications that seem to improve my condition is epileptic medications. So they're pretty sure it has something to do with the nervous system. This has been going on for 25 years, but I've only started to be able to get medical care in the last 3 years. Why? Because I've been speaking up about this for 25 years, but I was always told to shut up. I was told it's an allergy attack. Don't talk about it. Don't describe it. When I was talking about bumping in the furniture in front of my mother and father, you know what my mother did? She punished me and said it was self-harming. Yes, my wrist and shins have been bumping in the stuff for 25 years, and my mother punished me for it. Yes, my mother did this a lot. My mother gave me permission to go meet a friend from school at his house with his mother, and I did, and my mother drove up and down the street saying I ran away, screaming like a lunatic, then punished me afterwards Why? Because she said I ran away even though I didn't. Oh yeah, here's another one. I was punished for trying to show my mother my swimming medal from the orphanage. I won a swimming medal in an orphanage. The orphanage put my name on it, and I put it in my Lego box. I got adopted. I said, "Oh, I want to show my adopted mother my medal." So I took it out of the Lego box, walked over to my mother, and said, "Hey, look at my swimming medal." You know what she did? She punished me, called me a liar, a thief, said it's not my swimming medal, said it must be some black kid's swimming medal because I'm not athletic, and then stole it. Then she said I'm trying to harm her by putting my old last name on it, so I must have attachment disorder and try to bring me to a doctor and have me medicated. Yes, all that happened because I wanted to show my mother my accomplishments. Yes. So after all this, I'm still investing in the family. Yes, I also knocked off my father's trouble. My father got in trouble with Social Security and the Department of Health and Human Services and a program. The program needed $600 in rent for my Social Security. The Department of Health and Human Services needed to be notified I was on Social Security, as well as the Social Security needed to be handed over to the person whose name is on the check. Now, I am 19 turning 20, and I find this out right as it's over. It's over. It's ended. My Social Security is over, and everybody's pissed. The program has needed my rent money for a year, and they've given me a break because they were told I was not on Social Security, but the whole time I was. So, literally, my father stole my rent money every fucking month. That money was supposed to go to the program for my rent, and also, in return, they were going to show me how to reapply for Social Security. They have a Social Security attorney that would work with me for reapplying and help me in court. And they would help me find a new apartment who they work with a realtor in the area. And they work in Tewksbury and a couple other areas like Haverhill. So, I was in this program working really hard. They even said I was one of the best kids they ever had. They said the only thing is smoking weed, but everybody smoked weed in there. There was only 2 girls who didn't out of everybody in the building. So there's like 14 people total, 12 people total, and only 2 don't. So I'm not getting thrown out for that. I mean, I'm not even buying the stuff. I literally don't know dealers in Lawrence. The other girls do. So I just smoke with them. But no, I don't get in any trouble for the smoke potting. I meant the whatever. But I get in ripshit trouble because my father hid my rent money from them and stole it. So that rent money was supposed to be going to my apartment, also to where I was living at the time. So $600 a month that was supposed to go to my rent at the program Highfields in Lawrence went straight to my father's pocket, and he just lied and told them I was not on Social Security, lied to me and told me I was not on Social Security, told my DMH worker I was not on Social Security. He told everybody that when he signed the paperwork. Because one of the questions on the paper is your son on Social Security? Says it right on the paperwork my father filled out. When he had put me in that program, it was right on the paperwork. So he lied to the program. And so, yes, he had to pay over 12 grand in debt back to me, and then I had to pay debt back to the program. But then my father was going to try to pin this all on me like it's my fault he lied. I know this. I know how my father is. He can't take responsibility for his actions. No. As soon as he has to pay me, he's going to make it all my fault. He's going to hold a grudge. He's going to hate me. He's going to blame me. He's going to say it's all my fault. It's going to become a big thing. So instead, I just don't sign and I say, Dad, as long as you keep my Social Security so that because you fucked everything up now and I'm going to need that to survive. So as long as you hire a lawyer and make sure I keep my Social Security, I will not sign and I'll get you out of trouble. He agreed. He looked me in the eye. He stuck out his hand. I was almost 20. I'm 19 years old. I'd stick out my hand. We shake our hands. We meet eyes. I tell my worker I'm not going to sign the paperwork to bring my father to court. My father is not going to pay me the 12 grand he owes me. They say, that's fine, but we have to make out a report anyways. And you're not going to get the money, and you can't go back for the money. I said, I don't care about the money. What I care about is an apartment and having food. I care about food, having a roof over my head, and having a family. I care about having a home and a family. That's it. So I'm going to invest in my family right now, and you can keep the fucking 12 grand. But I'm going to need a home after they sell the house or after they throw my ass out. So I'm going to need my Social Security while I try to work and I get injured or figure out what the fuck is wrong with my health. So my father agrees, everybody agrees, the program throws me out. But my father tries to take me out like 2 weeks early. So what he does is he tries to say I'm coming home to take care of my mother. Even though really at the time it's all bullshit. It's very clear that that's not. They don't let me take care of her. They don't follow any instructions. They're drinking heavily. That's not why I'm there. They don't want me helping with nothing. They want to do whatever the fuck they want to do, and they want me to stay out of their way. They're even selling the house, what means they're about to move around the country. If they're that sick, then why are you moving? Sick people aren't supposed to be moving. So anyways, that was not the case. The case is that there was a bunch of mistakes made, and I wasn't allowed to stay. The programs were even talking to me, the other staff, saying that I was asking them, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the program? They said, we don't know. You were supposed to be paying rent to us. I said, really? They said, yeah, people on Social Security have to pay $600 a month. You know that from AP. You know that from the other girl, the heavyset ugly one. You know that from the other boy, Aaron. You know that from all of them. All those kids on Social Security have to give us $600 a month out of it. You know that as much as we do. I said, yeah, I know that. Everybody on Social Security has to give rent. The people who work, like me, don't have to pay rent. We only give a percentage of what we get in paychecks, right? They said, yes, but you've only been paying less than 100 to us. You've been paying very little. You get like food stamps, and you get food stamps for the fridge, and that's it. But we also had you fill out and go down for food stamps, and you lied to the food stamp office because your dad lied to you. When the food stamp office asked you if you are collecting Social Security, what did you tell them? I said to the staff member, I told them no. I said I didn't know I was on it. How is that my fault? They said you are 19, almost 20. It is your fault. You're supposed to know if you're on Social Security. If your father's using your name, collecting a check behind your back, then you're filling out paperwork to collect food stamps for the program, and you say you're not on Social Security at the food stamp office, that's a crime. I said, really? Yes, your father had you commit a crime. I said, oh. I didn't know that. Yes, they said, you got to fill out that food stamp paperwork very carefully next time. I said, yeah, I guess I will. I'll have to be careful. And then I get thrown out of the program, but my father comes in early saying I'm coming home to take care of my mother. What do you think happened after that? He told me he's selling the house, gave me no plan to go anywhere. He bailed out on the attorney, so that way I had no Social Security. And then he brought in drugs to the house, redated a new wife, and got my girlfriend to leave the house crying, thinking he's a racist because he's screaming around. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to get laid upstairs and get over my mother's death. Oh, and on top of this, I had to watch my mother die while with 20% of her liver working while trying to still drink. Yes, at one point, she came home for one day, 20% of her liver working, a little light yellow tint to her eyes and skin, and she does not look good at all, and she goes straight past her family, straight to the liquor cabinet, and pours herself a drink. This is the last part of my life, and now my father acts like it's all my fault that he acted like that. And this is the same reason why I didn't bring my father to court for the Social Security. Because if I had, he would have tried to blame me and act like, oh, his lies are my fault. Yes, my father lied to the program, he lied to my worker, he lied to me, he lied to Social Security, he lied to a bunch of people, but that's Zach's fault that I'm in trouble. So Zach should bail me out. Zach should never sign the paperwork. Zach should have, and then he'll try to think of another one. He's just trying to think of ways to put his own blame onto me. You lied. That's you. You lied to the program. Your son needed that program. Your son needed a future, and you stole his future from him. That's what you did. Take responsibility for stealing your son's future. You stole another person's future, you destroyed his health and body, and you let your wife die and go nuts and put her problems onto him. And now you're running away to the beach to try to relax, and you think it's all his fault. It's all his fault. All the problems in his life is all his fault. Meanwhile, Zach is having a good life, working very hard, but every time he tries to do anything on his own, like go to work, His father's bullshit smacks him in the face. I'm walking to work, I have a seizure on the side of the road. The ambulance takes me from the seizure, brings me to the hospital, but the hospital doesn't know what to do thanks to my father. Nobody knows what to do. The neurologist doesn't know what to do. They can't treat me, so they release me. But I can't drive home, so I have to walk home because it's a Sunday. And then I have another seizure thanks to my father and that overdose from my mother. I mean, they're the ones that started. I wasn't born with seizures. I wasn't born shaking. No. I had my first event during an overdose. Then I had my first seizure, I believe, in New Mexico. But I'm not... See, I only learned they're called seizures at the age of 22 when a doctor actually diagnosed them in an emergency room. Before that, I was just by myself. I raised myself. I mean, when I was in New Mexico, I was just wandering through the woods of New Mexico. There wasn't any teachings. There was very little to go on. That's just how I was raised. I was raised in programs and programs and programs, and my father was never really caring too much about my health, education, or any of that. At least if he did care, he didn't know how to properly invest in their son's education. It's either he didn't want to and he'd rather invest in vacations and whatever my mother wanted, like psychiatry. And my mother, I mean, don't get me wrong, my father spent a fortune on me, but only based upon what my mother wanted to play around with. My mother loved to play doctor, and she did not like when real doctors told her what needed to be done. So she used to bring me to a psychiatrist for physical ailments, like my shakes, tics. When I used to get really tired from the drugs that my mother was giving me, she would call it depression. Like, she would give me a bunch of downers, bunch of pills. Then she would go show me off to a bunch of people. Then she would give me a bunch of downers, bring me to a psychiatrist, make me look all tired, call it depression. And then she would get more pills to drug me, and that would continue. Now, no child should have to go through what I went through. No child. And if my father thinks that it is the child's fault for being drugged and abused and for having lies be made about him left and right, that's just ridiculous. The only thing that's my fault is my drug addiction. And I'm sober today, and that's not going to change. That's stayed the same for years. I've had one relapse in like the last 7 years, and that lasted only for 6 months. And that was due to me needing surgery for a year. Yes, I had every single tooth removed from my mouth because I had triple infections spreading all over my body. And this was going on for years. I was on like my 6th round of antibiotics by the time I went in there. And the doctors were prescribing me Vicodin, codeine. I was literally buying Percocet on the street. It wasn't good. But it was a 6-month relapse. The first 6 months I was in pain, screaming in pain. Then the next 6 months I was trying to minimize the pain while save money to get the surgery. Then, after a year of waiting, after a year of asking my father to help me get the surgery, after telling him that I really need the surgery, I really need it, I'm going to die if I don't get it because I'm having seizures on the side of the road. I've now split open my head 3 times, and I received 106 head injuries during that year. Yes, my brain will never be the same thanks to that year wait. Yes, if I got the surgery the first time I called, I wouldn't be as brain damaged. But yes, I received over 106 severe hits. How do I know the number? I don't. According to the people around me, it had to be a lot of hits, and I had lots of marks. So that's how I got the number. As I asked people, how many times do I usually hit my head while down there? They said, oh, way more than 20 times, way more. So, during that whole year, I had multiple seizures on the side of the road because I was forced to keep working while in that condition. Again, my mother and father lied so many times that no matter if I lose a finger and my arm, they want me to go to work the next day. I never get a break. I never get a day off, no matter how sick I get. When COVID hit and every place was shutting down and everybody was going on welfare, I was having seizures. I had multiple infections all over my body. I literally had multiple problems. I couldn't drive. I was falling on the side of the road, and I caught a flu. And then after I had the flu for a while, I went to the emergency room. They tested it for one type of COVID. It came back negative, but they said I did come back positive for flu symptoms and flu, and they said I definitely, positively had the flu. They just didn't know what type. and they got a stool sample that was definitely flu-like. Everything. I was puking, runny nose, fever, just the works. I had definite flu. So I got a note because I'm sick. Within 7 days, I'm back at work, still with the flu though. I'm trying to call my doctor and figure out what to do, but they all tell me I need to go back to work even though I have the flu. I'm fine with that, but for the next 3 weeks or so, I recover from the flu. It takes about 15 days was the mark on the calendar. It took 15 days before my runny nose and puking and the fever actually completely went away, where nighttime, daytime, it didn't seem like I had any more flu symptoms. Also, with an infection, that was making the fever worse because I have an infection all over my mouth, flu symptoms, and they're having me work, and I'm having seizures on the side of the road, and I have stitches on the side of my face, and I have blood all over my clothing, and my knees and legs and body's all cut up, and a car's running over my hair, and I still can't leave work. So with all that going on, I injured myself pretty severely, and I damaged my head by multiple concussions again. And during this, I just tried to save up the $4,853 that they were required up front to get the surgery. If they didn't get the money up front, they were going to let me die. No matter how many times I went to the emergency room, they said I needed to see the surgeon. They were going to let me die unless I came up with the money. So I asked my father. They said no. They said go die. Go die someplace. We don't care. Go die. You did it to yourself. Go die. Even though the dentist and the people and the oral surgeon said what did it to me is a long-term dry mouth condition. They had my dental records going back to childhood, and they said all of them show severe dry mouth condition. I said, does medication cause that? They said, oh, absolutely. I said, how about Seroquel, Trazodone? How about Thorazine? How about Ritalin? How about Wellbutrin? How about Xanax? Do those cause it? He said, abso-fucking-lutely. You just take 2 of those, and your mouth will never be wet again. I said, so if I took Seroquel, Thorazine, Trazodone, and Ritalin during the day, that could cause my teeth to rot just by that. Nothing to do with brushing, because I didn't brush while homeless well. I had a little trouble during childhood, but I got the hang of it. But also, when I was homeless, I didn't brush. So, are you sure that's not why? Because I think it's the brushing. He goes, no, no, no. It takes years of brushing to cause this much damage. He goes, see all your teeth? I said, yeah. He goes, all of them are missing your enamel layer. Every single tooth in your mouth has been, the whole layer all around the tooth has slowly been dry. And he goes, I can see your mouth right now is severely dry. Is it usually like this? I go, this is wet for me. You call this dry? He goes, yes, this is dry. What, this is wet for you? I say, yeah, it gets way worse at nighttime when I go to sleep. And during childhood, it was way drier than this. He goes, that's why. If you sleep and your mouth gets dry, your enamel rots away. Way more than not brushing. He goes, not brushing is bad, but that's for the upper, that's like cavities. It rots a hole through your tooth if you don't brush. Yes, you have some of those, but that's not what's concerning us. What's concerning is that the dry mouth condition has taken off the enamel on every single tooth in your mouth. All your teeth have no protection. All of them. They're soft. They're easy. One sugar crate will make a hole. That's the problem. I said, so no matter what I do, I'm going to lose all my teeth one by one. He goes, they're going to knock out like bowling pins. I'm like, oh. I go, so you're sure it's medication that probably did this? He goes, not probably, I'm sure. I'm sure it was your medication. It says it right on it. And if you were on all these medications you're talking about through childhood, I guarantee that you had a dry mouth condition. Plus, I see from your dental records you have notes saying dry mouth. I said, oh, okay, yeah. I had a dentist before tell me dry mouth in Mass. He told me that I seemed to have a very dry mouth. And I had another dentist during my Herbst appliance tell me that I had a very dry mouth. And that was at the age of 16. So at 16, 23, and at 30, I don't know, 28, 29, it would have been 27. At all those ages, I had dry mouth. And the doctors and dentists and the pharmaceuticals all warned me about it. So apparently a dry mouth condition, if you don't use that spray, can cause the enamel to rot off all your teeth at once. So yeah, I lost all my enamel on every single tooth, so I had to get surgery. But the infections got so severe that it was causing my neurological disorder to worsen. So when I tried to move my leg, I was having full spasms on my whole body falling down. Then when I fell down, if I hit my head or if I just had a seizure, what causes me to fall down and hit my head, then I woke up with cars almost running over my hair. And then they want me to continue working the next day after having a seizure or after having one of these. They don't give me a break. If I take one breather for a week, they throw me out to the woods to live. Thanks to my father and mother, once again, I can't use shelters. My disabilities aren't properly documented because my mother tried to hide them. So when I go to a shelter, the first seizure, shake, or when I can't move my muscles or body, the first time that happens, they throw me out, won't let me come back. So that's my life right there in a nutshell. This is the pain and suffering I'm talking about that I have to deal with thanks to my mother and father. And now my father likes to blame other people for it. I've never once heard my father take ownership of one, not even one, of the illnesses or problems from my childhood that he created. Not the overdose, not that giving a child extra Ipecac is wrong. Even when I asked him the question, do you think that giving a child extra medication as a punishment is okay? My father said yes, it's okay to give extra medication to a child. Now, he was just blindly following my mother in that conversation, but he was also blindly following my mother when I was actually getting an overdose. When on Halloween, when I was getting sick, every single Halloween like clockwork, he never questioned what could be going on in his house. Well, that seems very suspicious. My father says I can go out trick-or-treating. My father's friend, or who I think it was actually my brother, said I could go out trick-or-treating. It's normal. My nephew's going out trick-or-treating, but my mother says no. But because everybody else said yes, I'm allowed. So I'm getting ready to go out. I'm looking at the costume. I'm getting all excited. I've had no candy for weeks. At Halloween, I've been waiting. It's so nice. And then my mother says, wait, you got to take your medication. I say, okay. So I take my medication, then I continue getting ready for Halloween. I continue getting ready. There's another 2 hours to go, and I get to go out just another 2 hours, just another 1 hour. I start puking. I turn pale. I get sick. My mother's right on it. She comes right over. Oh, you're sick. You can't go out. Dad, you can't go out. And then she babies me for the whole evening. Then next year comes around, and I'm getting my costume ready. I can't wait to go out. My father says I can go. My mother says, no, I don't want him going. My father goes, yes, he can go. And then they say, arr. And then I get to go. I'm so excited. I get to go to trick-or-treating. I get to go trick-or-treating. This is so much fun. It's only 2 hours to go. My mother says, don't forget your medications. You got to take your medications. Okay, Mom. Here's a glass of orange juice to take that with. Okay, Mom. And I keep going. I get pale. I get weak. I can't hold myself up. What the hell's going on? I feel so sick. I feel so weak. Oh, Zach's sick and pale. He can't go out. The next year comes. Zach, you can't go out. My father comes in. Yes, he can. Let the kid go out. I want to go out. Okay, you can go out. Okay, I'm 2 hours to go. I'm gonna go out. The Halloween sickness hasn't got me this time. Hasn't got me this time. Hey, Zach, you gotta take your medication. Okay, be right there. Take my medication. You gotta take that with food. Oh, don't worry, I'll get food later. I'm okay. I got my medication. Okay, an hour to go. Oh no, I feel dizzy. Oh no, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? I feel dizzy. I feel pale. Oh, I feel sick to my stomach. Mom, I feel sick to my stomach. I don't know what's going on. I do, you're sick. Dad, he's not going out. He's sick again. And the Halloween curse gets me again. But I always recovered, and she never brought me to the emergency room. Not once for any of these sicknesses. My mother never ever brought me for any of these. I wanted to go out and get my goddamn candy. My mother did not want me to go out. My father said I could, and I was getting ready to go. My mother gives me medication, and an hour later I'm sick. Every year on Halloween until I turn 13 years old, then all of a sudden it stops? No. From age 7 to 13, that's a lot of fishy business.